At the end of this month, I'm closing one of my restaurants, Las Cruces Tex-Mex. This is the video nobody in business wants to make. The post-mortem on something that didn't work. Most owners bury it and move on. I'm not going to, because the lessons in this one are worth more than the restaurant ever made me. And let me tell you what it cost me up front. 2.5 years open, we had months where we made money, but never enough to dig out from under the months we didn't. The place never became profitable. And I never took a dollar. And I never took a dollar, ever. That's the price of the lessons I'm about to give you. And before I say anything else, this wasn't my team's fault. This was mine. Let me show you exactly where I went wrong. Here's the truth, and it starts with something that actually went right. Central City Barbecue. My barbecue spot has done well, consistently from early on. So when I opened Las Cruces, I'll be honest with you, part of me expected the same thing. I'd built a restaurant that worked once, why wouldn't it work again? That assumption was my first mistake, because we opened before we were ready, and I knew it within the first week. The kitchen wasn't executing consistently, the front of the house was getting buried. The experience those first guests got, that wasn't us. That wasn't the restaurant I wanted to build. Now here's the thing. We basically soft opened. We never advertised. We never posted on social. I held the local news off from running a story as long as I possibly could, because the second I saw we weren't ready, I didn't want a spotlight on it. And I'll be straight with you. I didn't walk into that opening alone. I brought in a consultant to help us launch. Paid for the expertise. If you saw my first video on this channel, you already know how I feel about it. That money didn't buy me much, but here's the lesson, and it's the same one from that first video. A consultant can't open your restaurant for you. You can't outsource being ready. Even with someone in the building, I was paying to get this right. The outcome is still mine. Hiring help never transfers the responsibility. It just makes it easier to pretend it did. And here's what I got wrong. It's the kind of mistake that's easy to make when you're excited. I let it open on my timeline instead of the team's. I opened for the best night I imagined instead of the worst night we'd actually have. That's a leadership call. That is 100% on me. And here's the first thing that rough start cost me. It follows you. We fixed the restaurant, new chef, we've rebuilt the menu top to bottom, and the team I have there right now, the GM, the kitchen, the servers, they're really good. Our food is really good now too. I'll say that with confidence. But those first few weeks left a mark. We sit at 4.3 stars today, and we never once got above 4.4. Now 4.3 isn't a bad rating, it's fine. The problem is where fine lands you in a city like New Orleans, one of the most restaurant dense in America. The places that win here are sitting at 4.5 and up with years of goodwill behind them. That early stumble kept us a few tenths below the line, and a few tenths is the difference between a default choice and an also-ran. So no, the reviews didn't kill us on their own, but they were a weight we carried the whole way, and we never really shook it. A guest who has one rocky visit doesn't owe you a second one. Not when there are hundreds of other options around town. That's the tax on opening before you're ready. You spend the rest of the restaurant's life paying it down. So the reviews were a weight we carried, but they're not what closed the doors. The second lesson is the one that did, and it's not about the location. Let me explain it through my other restaurant, Central City Barbecue, which is not in the best neighborhood. It's just not. And people flock to it anyway. They drive across the city for it because it became a destination, a place people go out of their way to get to, on purpose. That's the whole secret. A destination doesn't care where it sits. People will find it. Las Cruces never became that. It was a genuinely good restaurant, cooked to order, higher quality meat than most spots around us, big portions, priced just a touch higher, a great outdoor space for the kids. But in a city flooded with Mexican restaurants, genuinely good isn't a reason to drive past the 2 or 3 places closer to your house. Customers told me exactly that. To get to you, I've got to pass 1 or 2 spots that are closer, and most nights I just don't have the extra 15 minutes. We were a good option. We were never a destination, and we never gave people a strong enough reason to make us one. And here's what made it worse. While we were still in construction, before we served a single plate, a counter service Mexican restaurant opened up at almost the exact same time we did, planted dead in the center of one of the key neighborhoods we'd been counting on. Counter service, fast, easy, cheaper, right where our target customers already lived. They took the easy business we'd built our whole plan around, and we hadn't even opened our doors yet. That's the risk nobody warns you about with the convenience play. You don't control who opens next to your customer. We'd already committed to the build. The competitive map changed before we ever opened. A destination survives that. A good option 15 minutes away doesn't. Now here's the part that really stuck with me. During Mardi Gras, we ran king cake headquarters out of that same location. We sold a ton of king cakes. People came from all over the city, and they kept telling me what a great location we had. The exact same address that supposedly couldn't pull people for Tex-Mex was suddenly a great spot for king cakes. That was frustrating to hear because it told me the truth. The location was never the problem. The second we gave people a reason, the second we were a destination, even for a few weeks, they came and they loved it. We just never built that reason into the everyday restaurant. So that's the lesson, and it's way bigger than restaurants. In a crowded market, you don't win by being a little better than the place down the street. You win by becoming a destination, something people seek out on purpose. If you're not the closest option and you're not a destination, you're just the place people keep meaning to try. My next ventures won't be in the restaurant world, but none of this is really about restaurants. If you're building something of your own, here's what this cost me to learn. Don't open before your team can survive its worst night, because that first impression is a tax you'll pay the whole way down. And in a crowded market, being a little better than the place down the street doesn't win. You've got to be the reason people leave the house, a destination or the closest option. There's nothing in between. I treated Las Cruces like a sequel to Central City. It wasn't. You earn it from scratch every single time. I told you at the top, this place never became profitable, and I worked it for free for 2.5 years. We had good months, but they never added up to enough to cover the bad ones. Here's why that matters more than it sounds. It's not just the cash I put in. It's the years of my life spent digging out of a hole I dug on day one, working for nothing to fix a start I rushed. That's the most expensive class I've ever taken, and the only way it's actually wasted is if I walk away without using it. And if you're building something of your own, learn this one on my dime instead of yours. That's the whole point of this channel. Real numbers, real lessons, even the ones that hurt. Let's get smart together. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment and I will respond. Thank you.